Most of my friends my age have absolutely no game, and it just feels like our generation has lost the ability to naturally socialize and land relationships. And if both sides want the same thing, being real connection, but both sides are too scared to start, what exactly are we waiting for? Social media in our culture has been shifted drastically over the span of just a single generation. I mean, it feels like most of my peers treat meeting people like spinning a slot machine on TikTok until they find someone they vibe with. Our parents slowly had to adapt to using the internet, but we were often taught how to use the internet before we were taught how to use what's around us in the real world. So to begin, I want to start by saying I've been in a 3-year long relationship, and a lot of the issues I'm going to discuss I've seen impact friends both in real life and online, but I've mostly overcome things like shyness and anxiety myself. And while I was able to adapt, figure out things, and learn as I got older, not everyone does. Starting with when we're young, most of us got into like video games, cell phones, and the internet before our age hit double digits. I remember being 9 years old, fascinated by games like RuneScape, social media platforms that my teenage aunt and uncle used like MySpace, and just how entertainment was starting to shift to the online culture. Early in my life, I can remember bonding with friends just over YouTube videos. Epic rap battles of history comes to mind as one I remember being universally loved when I was younger, as watching or talking about these videos together was very engaging. If anything, it became more engaging than the normal conversations that we could come up with. And when it came to local lives, most kids really aren't doing or thinking about that much, you know? Most of us are playing video games, studying, and growing up, but during that process, we had to face a terrifying beast. As I grew up and got into my teenage years, the dating world began, and realizing the world my elders thought existed didn't exist was a hard hit. My first proper girlfriend I remember getting, I was about like 14 years old or so. I think she was like 16 at the time, a couple years older than me, but I thought it'd probably be cool. We had been decent friends and started talking to each other for a couple months, constantly calling each other and falling asleep at night together on the phone, things that I thought were pretty normal for a couple. The relationship in the real world was a bit different though. Small town lifestyle meant we really only saw each other at school, and because my family wasn't that well off financially, we had no vehicle, so it wasn't just easy to hang out anytime she wanted. The solution most of the time would of course be social media. Facebook calls lasting up to 15 hours long sometimes. Like, the amount of time and effort put into chasing a relationship begins to compound early on in life. Day to day, we send Snapchats, we share TikToks, or create content just for the purpose of that special someone seeing it, but sometimes it has alternative motives as well. One day, I couldn't get out to my girlfriend's place. With no ride, I was stuck at my house. This caused a bit of a minor friction between me and her. It was, to be honest, our first real argument, and while it didn't go far at the time, I realized why it didn't as I got ready to eat dinner. Brought my dinner to my room, and before I hopped on YouTube, I checked my phone to see that she had uploaded photos onto her story. First, there's a truck outside the window in the driveway with some excited heart face looking emojis. The next Snapchat sees her sitting in the car, smiling in the front seat, next to a dude who looks like he's likely 30 or something, and then she has an amazing night, full of going out for dinner, getting drunk, partying with people, and this was how we broke up. It wasn't over text, there wasn't any closure, there was content, which her friends endorsed and sent to me, which I just had to accept. The only kind of conversation I could get out of it was her saying that it's not that big of a deal because he was just a friend. And once we did break up and I made it official that I didn't want anything to do with her, within the same hour she was with him and posted it to her story. Now it's okay, because now that girl does fentanyl and has a boyfriend who cheats on her with men, so I can't really say like she's the one that got away. I'm all cool. But either way, it impacted me a lot. Mentally, let's be real, I was fucking pissed at the time. I couldn't sleep. I went to school the next day and all my friends were asking me about it. Some of them were, genuinely concerned, but a lot of them were just making jokes. And in general, in person and both online, I was a bit traumatized. Like, I waited until a girl approached me on Instagram or in class until I found a new relationship. And in general, my expectations for relationships and what it means to tell someone I love you changed for the worse. And this is one example of why I don't think our generation necessarily forgot how to talk to each other. We were raised inside of a system that turned every conversation into a performance with an audience. And once you've been the punchline at 14, you learn to stay quiet. Now, the paradox is about half of men are too scared. It's like 44% don't want to approach women, 77% of women want to be approached, and only a little over half of us in Gen Z entering adulthood have any real relationship experience. Especially in my small town, there's no anonymity to just fall behind. Not only are dating apps harder to use in small towns, but even if you have those resources, then you're stuck in the local Instagram or Snapchat rabbit hole of posting until someone special notices. And when everyone knows everyone, it makes it so fear isn't just rejection anymore. It's being filmed, screenshotted, becoming content. And in my small town, it's just how it is. You'll end up seeing her at the grocery store tomorrow. Her friends that were in the comment section will also be at the grocery store with her, and in general, it feels like one bad interaction can land you on a 50-part TikTok story. Even in a real life example, I can remember one time personally, I approached a girl to great success, speaking like the richest man in Babylon. Or I'm gonna keep it real, it was just at a concert, I was like 19 at the time, and I was single. And when I noticed this person was near me and their vibe seemed cool, I went for it. I saw them later, again near the bar, and they weren't busy, so when I bought my own drink, I didn't offer to buy them one, but I just struck up a conversation about the show, introduced myself, asked who they were, and naturally this led us to kind of talking more throughout the night. Now, not only did I get their Snapchat and phone number, but I also got to learn that that relationship wasn't really going to go anywhere because we talked for a bit after the show and slowly drifted apart from each other. You know, it wasn't anything negative or against her, it's just we were different people when I was on a different path. I wouldn't have learned that though if I didn't approach her. I would have thought about her later in the night once I got home and thought of, oh, what could have happened? I should have done this, I should have done that. But in the end, it isn't complicated. Getting to know someone, whether it's for a night or for months to years on end, it takes time to develop a proper relationship. But on social media, I think flirting is a lot easier to start off with as it's often rewarded or ridiculed. Very rarely is it ignored entirely. Getting someone to engage with you now feels like making a rage bait TikTok. You gotta have an interesting hook or they'll be over you after 2 seconds. And a lot of my friends that are guys I know, they personally haven't asked a girl out in years. Not because they don't want to, but because the cost of getting it wrong went from awkward to permanent. These systems were developed by a generation ahead of us, and now we're using it day to day and influencing how it evolves. In general, it's easier to accept online ridicule than it is to receive in-person rejection. Recognizing that most people are comfortable with using social media route shows, and recognizing that most people are comfortable with using the social media route shows how these dating apps have become consumer patterns. Instead of meeting women by going out in real life, you can be active on a TikTok or in your community to get the results. And when it comes to raising a kid now, it is fried. You know, shout out to all the single dads out there dealing with like the social media nonsense. My own experience is a nightmare. Like most guys would have snapped or given up, but I pushed through it as I couldn't let these modern problems impact me any more than they were going to anyways. At an early age, I can remember when my child was first born, me and his mother had the conversation that we would of course think was mature. Talking about how if things go bad or if we break up, we won't make it difficult for each other. We'll be transparent who we're bringing into our son's life and when we're bringing them around. But in reality, I wouldn't get to know what guy my son was going to be hanging out with until she'd posted on her story. Then on the flip side, she told me specifically that if I chose the wrong partner, like a girl that she really hates, then I won't be allowed to have my son over. The double standards truly are crushing, and instead of getting a message, accepting it, and moving on with my day, I need to be visually flashbanged at work with my son sitting on some random dude's shoulders. And I'll say this 1,000 times. My father, your father, and all of our fathers didn't grow up seeing their first girlfriends at 14 with another guy on social media. Their girlfriend also wasn't being supported, and they didn't have an online portal to get clowned on by her friends. I did, and that's how I grew up. My generation has new struggles, and the impact those scenarios had on my brain growing up aren't really quite known right now. I'm just starting to think of it, because in all reality, we are the study. Now, when I broke up with my child's mother, I spent about 6 months or so single, as all the women local to me were not what I was looking for. At least the ones that I had talked to, most of her priorities were on social media, partying, working meaningless jobs with no actual goal in mind. I remember talking talking to girls and even guys, like a lot of my friends as well, instead of talking about life stories and being a good storyteller, they would pull out their Snapchat memories and start finding visual or video references. This sounds cool, but it's usually like me looking at the girls at a club partying, or sometime a friend said something kind of funny with a funny face. Call it irony poisoning, but I think we got better stuff to talk about. Now, by the time I finally found someone worth talking to, they lived about 10 miles away, so I would e-bike out to go see them. I wasn't able to afford a car at the time, and I still played the game. You know, while the relationship didn't last longer than a year, it taught me lots about what I was looking for in the right partner. And like any breakup, it wasn't easy. For example, she had 2 kids and I had one of my own. Not only did we have to deal with the fact that the kids were separating, but also we were. So a week previous, I had lent her $100 for food as she didn't have any money. Now, once we had broken up, I tried to reasonably ask if I could get the $100 back from her, and she ignored me in messages. Instead, she then posted to her story a photo with a corner of her face and her eyes rolled up saying, "Money to take care of my kids is not for your weed or booze." I had been working full-time, helping her cook, clean, raise her children, and in the end, that's how much I was respected. Because I smoked bongs at night after work and had some beers with her father a few times, I was now used as a punchline. And of course, I'd continue to see this person around town, but I'd hold my head high. I didn't forget about what they had done, and I wouldn't talk to them anymore. Eventually, I would move on to better things, and I ended up finding my current partner, who I've been with for almost 4 years now. But I relate a lot of the scenarios and situations that I've been in my life and a lot of these stories to things that have happened to other people and how I feel like we're all growing up together. In Toronto or a big city, you can get rejected and never see that person again. But at Bancroft, you'll see them at the Tim Hortons drive-thru on Saturday, and they'll be with the same friends who were in the comment section. I think the system broke both sides in different ways using the same resource, that being social media. But in the end, there's so many reasons why our generation forgot how to talk to each other, but is it that we forgot? Or is it that we adapted as we grew up with different outcomes for our efforts? In the end, as I said, I think both sides want the same thing. We want real connection, not a performance, and both sides are sitting there waiting for the other side to go first. But if both sides are stuck waiting, then what exactly are they waiting for? Is it permission? Is it for society to accept it? Why? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. I don't want to give an answer because I don't really have a specific one other than correlating it to my own life stories. This is far too layered and complex, so let's break it down together. I'd love to read what you think and get back to you guys with some replies. Anyways though, thanks for all the support recently. Aside from leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, you can check out my Discord server and school community. Both of them are free and they're linked in the description below. If you've ever been too scared to just say hi, you're not alone. Trust me, if you're like a young person or just self-driven individual, join either community. I'd love to have you in there. But remember, the Lemming Theory is real, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.